Now, when we look at what are the requirements that we need to submit to the database, it's good to look at what our communication requirements are today and compare that to what's changing between what our Article 33 obligations are and what SCIP obligations are. So when we look at Article 33, if we contain, for example, 3 components in our product, and in this case I have a wireless router, that 3 components contain an SVHC over threshold, in this case lead. Under the current Article 33 requirements, I'm required at a minimum to disclose to professional customers the name of the SVHC present. So I have to provide an SVHC declaration that says, hey, this wireless router contains lead. That's basically the extent of my obligations. I'm also required to provide safe use instructions if any are needed. In most cases, those are not needed. So in this case, I just meet my Article 33 obligations by providing this declaration that I signed that says this product contains lead. I also have to provide this to consumers upon request. Now let's look at what the difference is between that and the mandatory data fields in SCIP. I'm not even going to cover optional data fields, just what's mandatory required within the regulation. So now with SCIP, because I'm loading this into a database, I actually have to provide some details on my product beyond just the fact that it contains lead. So I have to provide a unique ID and description, which is not too hard for me. It's just use my part number, and it's a wireless router, so that's easy enough. A product category code as well. This is new. This is not required under Article 33. This is basically the tariff code, or the import-export code that's used to move this product in and out of Europe. Okay, even if I produce it in Europe, I need to disclose this product category code. And you can usually get this from your import-export people. If not, you can look it up online using the trade desk. Now, I also have to disclose whether this product is produced in the EU, imported into the EU, or both, right? So I have this obligation now to disclose where this product is produced. That's also a new requirement. And safe use instructions, which is the same as Article 33. If they're applicable, I need to provide those. So when you look at this data set, really, it's not that much different than Article 33. We have a category code added. If it's produced in the EU, added, relatively easy questions to answer. Where this starts to get complicated is when we look into the next layer of information that's required to be included in the database. We have to include which complex objects and articles within the product contain these SVHCs. So I have to disclose that I have a voltage regulator, a diode, and I have an inductor here that contain these SVHCs over a threshold. It's not good enough to just say my product contains it. I now have to disclose the components within it that contain that. And for each one of those components, I also have to provide a unique ID and description. I also have to provide the component category code. In other words, the tariff code that the suppliers would use to import these into the category, and those are not the same, into the EU, which is not the same as what the wireless router category is, right? A diode has a different import code than a wireless router does, so does an inductor, so I have to categorize these accordingly. I also have to disclose whether these suppliers are producing these or importing these within the EU or not. I have to disclose any safe use instructions the suppliers have provided me. I have to pass those on. And I have to identify not only which SVHC is present, but also the concentration range in which it's present in for each one of these components. So I have lead present in the diode in this concentration, lead present in the voltage regulator in this concentration, etc. And then I also have to go further, and I have to disclose the mixture or the material category containing the SVHC. So in other words, this diode may contain the lead in solder. The voltage regulator may contain it in plating. I have to disclose whether that's plating, whether it's solder, whether it's adhesive, whether it's a polymer, and if so, what type of adhesive, what type of polymer, what type of alloy is it present in. So I have to disclose that kind of information, and I have to disclose it in a manner that's consistent with a PIC list that's provided by the European Chemicals Agency. You have to provide a code, right? So I have to do that for every single one of these parts. Now, keep in mind that there's something called once in article requirements that apply here as well. So if any of these components contain the SVHC within an article within the component, for example, this little blue guy at the bottom here, he's an inductor, and he contains the SVHC within this brass pin, which is an article. So now I have to disclose the same kind of information on the brass pin, which means I'm not only obligated to report the substances are present in the components, but I'm obligated to analyze the components to determine if they contain any articles within them, and if those articles are the ones that contain the SVHCs or not. And we'll get into this article analysis stuff next. And now, one other requirement that I have to include here is hierarchy. I have to show, I don't have to load the whole BOM of my wireless router in, but for every article that I've located in here that contains an SVHC, I have to provide hierarchy information that allows an end-of-life processor or recycler to know where to find them within my product, okay? So looking at this data set, you can see that it's orders of magnitude more complex and detailed than simply stating I have lead present in my wireless router so that I can sell it in Europe.
Learn more by viewing the full-length video online at greensofttech.com/videos. Plus, learn about our environmental regulation solutions online at greensofttech.com.